American spirit is in our DNA at Up and Atom. We invented the triple burger, the 10-slice of bacon triple cheese melt, and extra creamy jumbo shake. And of course, the legendary two-way speaker box for people that are too lazy to get out of their cars to eat. We don't succumb to trendy health fads. At Up and Atom, we've kept many of the same menu items. We still serve up all of your weekly saturated fat, salt, and sugar needs in one convenient setting. Up and Atom, food from when we were morally superior.
Today we are going to take a closer look into Screaming Eagles Holdings.
Famous or infamous is the question many of our viewers have been asking themselves and galactic authorities for several years now. Not much is known about the origins of the Screaming Eagles, but it can be assumed that some of the usual lowlives and desperate formed a small pirate posse under the leadership of a Commander Colton, somewhere in the bubble around 3301 or 02. The few reports about those times speak of some hard but friendly robberies, most ending peacefully, as well as high-level duels with several independent fighter pilots. Late 3302, early 3303, a wider public noticed their existence when Screaming Eagles were involved in several heists in the early weeks of Colonia, most famously the robbery of the first Colonia Christmas convoy. The pirates allegedly hijacked up to one-third of relief supplies, originally dedicated to support the first settlers. Amongst these containers was, most shockingly for the Colonia authorities, a load of meta-alloys, not only urgently needed but also almost impossible to get any replacement from the bubble in time. In a delicate operation, Colonia militia freed the valuable goods facing off Screaming Eagles commanders Mesa Falcon, Icarus Prime, Mach Omega and Guitar, allegedly by paying an immense ransom. Since then, observers have been asking if this ransom might have been the foundation for the future economic ventures of the pirates. However, it was most likely this event in 3303 that drafted new commanders, amongst which the commanders Arvesa, Charles von Hackbale, Elendil and Donald Duck should later become board members and high-ranking executive officers in the corporate empire the pirates would found. Shortly after that, Commander Mesa Falcon was even asked for assistance protecting the impedimenta of legendary Salome during their final escape, which, most of you know, ended deadly for the fallen princess. How well that assignment was paid remains another secret, but when an official Screaming Eagles faction appeared in Curine system in spring 3305, many more than the 1.7 billion inhabitants were starting to wonder if there was something odd there. Even more so, when Eagles took over the system in August of the same year, installed an anarchy government and like that gained legal access to all the contraband needed by pirates to become serious businessmen, or as others might call them, mobsters. Many events in the history of the Screaming Eagles might not mean anything on their own, but if one takes the time and connects the dots, a completely new picture emerges, showing a closed, highly secretive organization, most certainly of criminal nature. It had always been very hard to enter the inner circle of the Screaming Eagles, guarded by many tests and challenges, just as is known from antiquity on Earth concerning criminal organizations like the Italian Mafia or Chinese triads. For their final pledging, the so-called The Crucible, attendees are supposed to take several tons of stolen goods to a certain moon in the Eagle Nebula and drop them as a sacrifice, signaling to be ready to give everything for their faction.
I don't know what to say, really. 3 minutes to the biggest moment of our elite. All comes down to today. And either we rise as a team, inch by inch, minute by minute, until we're finished. We're in hell right now, ladies and gentlemen. Believe me. And we can stay here and get the shit kicked out of us. We can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell, one moment at a time. Now, I can't do it for you. Too casual. I look around and I see all these young faces and I think, I've made every wrong choice an elite pilot can make. I pissed away all my credits, believe it or not. I'm obsessed with fixed multi-cannons. Last night, I even unlocked the Guardian frame shift booster. You know.
Additionally, in an unmatched PR coup in 3304, the small pirate gang were featured protagonists in a major report in Sagittarius I, by then the leading magazine concerning life in deep space, pirating with style, flying with the Screaming Eagles. So, one must not wonder that the next step of a posse becoming a large-scale criminal organization was to show strength and that anyone bullying them around would encounter major problems. A path that seemingly had been chosen in preparation for the takeover of Curene long before, when Commanders Coral Gruck, Dale 5652 and Fran 27 had joined to strengthen their fighting capacities, to be completed by ace fighter Commander Lintouchable in fall 3304. With this strength and an immense group effort, Screaming Eagles managed to finish fourth in the Galactic PvP League of 3304 and were a known power from there on.
So, Lintouchable's virtually... Yeah, Lintouchable's basically untouched. Coral, basically untouched, and Pelly is at one ghost ring.
I really,
no banks
I really
left.
feel like Prism would have had a better chance if they didn't focus Donald Duck first.
Yeah.
Hats off to Donald Duck. He lasted a really long time, but I feel like I really feel like Lynn, all due respect to all of the pilots, is one of their strongest.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely deserving of a focus, in my opinion.
After the DDSE fight, Lynn was very much
Wait a minute.
a big threat to us.
Wait a minute, Mason Falcon is not dead.
Wait, what?
Mason Falcon's not dead. He's at 0% with 2 rings of shield, dude. What a god.
We fucking rebooted!
Oh my god, dude. Alright, dude, that's sick.
Alive.
Dude, one phasey boy and ends his life. I need to get out of the firefight, dude. I'm right in the middle. I'm out of here.
Commanders Lintouchable and Coral Gruck later co-founded famous fighting force NATO, about which some were suspicious if this had been an act of outsourcing by the Screaming Eagles, making money from a mercenary security force instead of paying them for sitting around in their home system waiting for an attack that might never happen. Whatever the true connection to NATO was, from 3305 onwards this cooperation certainly had the goal to train and educate fighter pilots. This did not only result participating in several PvP events together with NATO commanders under different, at times constructed, flags, but also in the engagement of commanders Barnard 07 and Therazin to become Screaming Eagles. Which might not seem out of the ordinary, as Screaming Eagles commanders were doing a lot of things usual for commanders, like exploration, trade or scientific research about the upcoming invasion of the Thargoids. Especially the latter opens a completely new book, Secure Operations. Whatever government, a ruling faction of any system needs to fulfill certain tasks to stay in power and keep people happy, which is certainly not done by wing fights or mercenary work alone. The first, logical, step is economic stability, which throughout the galaxy is organized by factions and companies. And giving the Screaming Eagles organization a closer look does not only reveal their vast network of companies and brands, but as well show no clear beneficiary of profits and uncovers companies with no outspoken purpose. A pattern usually indicating dark funds and dark operations. Of course, there are the Screaming Eagles brands, like their beverage brands Combat Lager Beer or Reversky Vodka for those pilots not so familiar with fighting, which produce certain profits that are, almost socially, shared amongst the workers in the factories in Curene. The brand rights, on the other hand, are held by intellectual property companies somewhere in Colonia, and where the fees paid to them end up, cannot be verified at all. Here 3 names appear. Firstly, there is Commander Arvesa, who joined Screaming Eagles during their time in Colonia. Strong rumors and indications by sources from within the Eagles administration point to a strange and most probably dangerous relation of her towards the Thargoids. She is having tea with the Thargoid Queen is said to be a common answer when one asks where to find her. So does it wonder that at several occasions Screaming Eagles were dragging Thargoid interceptors to space stations at a time when Thargoids had just reappeared, long before they were actually attacking stations on a large scale and forced millions to flee? The second, even though not so obviously prominent character, is Commander Voluz. Not occupying any official position, like station administrator, he has been maintaining the Eagles' relation to the superpowers over the years. Does that mean Screaming Eagles are probably doing some highly obscured, dirty work for these main actors on the galaxy's political landscape? Work that is outsourced to the Eagles over several strawmen, so that no one can trace it back to the respective Secret Service. For the discreet sabotage act like a bomb here or an assassination there? Which takes us to the third person in mind. Commander 9mm, formerly known as Commander Al-Antar, Vapor, and who knows what else. Also involved in military actions of the Empire, respectively its superpowers, he joined Screaming Eagles at an undisclosed time as a fighter pilot but also as a strategic and tactical consultant. When he disappeared after some time there was no mourning or even a search for him started, which could mean he changed his name again and is since then operating at an even deeper layer of secrecy as the whole Screaming Eagles network is doing already. Especially when considering all the allegedly inactive members of the Screaming Eagles, of which some are rumored to just have gone dark and operate deeply behind the curtains. Namely the Commanders Daenerys, Higgs Moron, Cortiopas, Reed Raynor, Branitz, Hasmodai or Unrealization, as well as the galaxy-wide wanted badass Commander Ragnar Starquester. It is more than obvious that all these dots connected show a clear picture of a strong, wealthy, well-connected and above all ruthless squadron, who take what they want and defend what they have at all cost. How else would it be possible to maintain sovereignty over a 1.7 billion inhabitants system with several star and surface ports, not to mention over 50 surface installations? Firstly, the brutal motto of the X-Posse comes to mind, as already revealed years ago by Sagittarius I.
A group of people who would stand beside you whatever the odds, and laugh, learn, and teach the entire time.
Absolutely horrific. Secondly and last but not least, the management of most of the daily agenda of ruling Kirene is done by Commanders Metalstorm and Little Pony, two of the most notorious general managers the galaxy has ever seen. Being associated with Screaming Eagles since allegedly 3307, they have not only stabilized influence over several years, driven up production and revenues, but were also major players in the Eagles' largest crisis so far. Before details about that, we need to go back to the years 3306 to 3307. Two major developments following the introduction of new frameshift drives about a decade ago occurred when galactic authorities introduced private fleet carriers and shortly after allowed public access to private surface installations. Both were welcomed. The Eagles increased their logistic capacities with several fleet carriers to ship even more contraband and could now serve external guests and welcome travelers at their leisure in economic installations around Kirene's planets and moons. Additionally, Pilots Federation installed a fleet carrier administration which almost guaranteed a continuous inflow of commanders. The problem on the other side was that with superpowers and strong minor private factions expanding, less and less systems remained anarchies, and so more and more of those in need of protection from the law became regulars at the Screaming Eagles establishments. That again attracting those hunting the bounty, and by mid-3307 Screaming Eagles were struggling to maintain power as they massively lost influence through actions against their facilities. After being dragged into a series of costly wars, it became time to change the strategy, and so Screaming Eagles gave up most of their surface settlements and lost them during the following conflicts, certainly a planned policy of scorched earth. If the soldiers defending them on the ground had been enlightened about that strategy remains a secret. Several have died defending what was not to defend. Anonymous sources state the involvement of Screaming Eagles Special Forces and some of their highest-ranking commanders in fights against their own. In another part of this interstellar game of chess, mentioned commanders Metalstorm and Little Pony maintained the political system to the Eagles' favor during those impetuous times. Up to an extent, where they gave up system rule for almost a month, to another faction called Union of Waywotia Confederacy, propagandistically called the Month of Austerity.
I'm speaking to you tonight to give you a report on the state of our nation's economy, and regret to say that we're in the worst economic mess since the Great Depression.
An evil trap as Union should learn the very hard way many months later. Not only did their victories inspire Union to perform some risky investments based on their new influence in Kirene, they also saw a chance to reclaim what had originally been theirs, power in their home system Waywotia, which had been under control by minor private faction Galaxy Express by that time. The uprise lasted some short 2 weeks, and whilst Galaxy Express even increased their power, Union stumbled into wars with Barons of Waywotia and Screaming Eagles in 2 systems at the same time. Way too much for the small faction. So these conflicts consumed all their resources and sent Union down a drain that ended with getting finally booted from Kirene and suffering at around pathetic 1% in Waywotia under the rule of CEA psychiatric institutions at the time of this report. Most certainly all these events and entanglements were pure coincidences. That's at least what Screaming Eagles may want us to believe. There are rumors about a kidnapped Baroness, whose ransom allegedly was Barons of Waywotia attacking Union, as well as leaked documents about a huge transfer of black market weapons to Galaxy Express. As usual, real proof or a smoking gun are hard to find. Screaming Eagles know their shady business is too good to leave any prosecutable traces. Furthermore, their position as one of the few anarchies left close to the core systems appears reinforced, as everybody seems to need a dark place once in a while. Be it to acquire weapons, mines or armor, a load of narcotics, or simply a place to hide where to pay off bounties and fines. Without a doubt, the further developments of humanity as a whole over the last years have contributed to the Eagles' untouchableness as well, as all eyes have been and are on the Thargoid thread and the war efforts against them for quite some time now. Here it appears surprising that Screaming Eagles have had a rather laid-back approach to this thread, minding that at least one of the Titans would have continued its way to Sol directly through Kirene. From an internal memo we learned their shocking stance towards this topic.
The true winner of any war is the one selling weapons to both sides.
A harsh statement, considering the news evolving about a Thargoid attack on Shinratra Desra at the time this report is made. Is there an even deeper and darker connection to humanity's arch-enemy? Have the pirates gone space mad during their leisure travels to Colonia or Sagittarius A over the years and sell weapons and information to the enemy, supported by the use of ancient witchcraft? And if so, do the superpowers or at least one or some of them know about this and have their eyes closed, as the war effort justifies otherwise sanctioned measures? As this report has revealed, Screaming Eagles were a small pirate posse that became not only provider of shady goods and services, but have managed to establish themselves as at least a local political power. A recent galactic-wide poll even elected them second in an entry to the Galactic Hall of Fame in the field of political influence, passing much larger factions all around the bubble by far. And if you ask yourself how this is possible for a small, low-profile squad, rest assured that we are sure that this is all based on dark, secret scheming and intrigues, orchestrated to pull the strings from somewhere in the shade and be far away if someone points at those responsible. For the recent past and the time being, Screaming Eagles are officially doing nothing special, just things like maintaining their power over Kirene, the occasional robbery of unexperienced commanders supporting community goals, some organized or organic wingfights, and every now and then a peek into Thargoid matters. But there are indications that this might change with the galaxy evolving. Not only are the Thargoids far from being beaten in more than some battles, just nobody knows their numbers and resources, so nobody can tell if the outcome of those battles was as disastrous for them as they were triumphant for us. On the other hand, humanity knows very well about her resources and manpower, and if the Thargoids can attack us at the heart of our homeland at places like Shinratra Desra, what is next? Earth? Or the systems with our main industrial infrastructure, like major shipyards? Does that make Kirene and the Screaming Eagles, with their wealth of resources and manpower, a target for the galactic superpowers, as they will be trying to secure particularly such things as resources and manpower to be best prepared for the further developments and war against an enemy truly unknown? It is more than urgent that galactic authorities change their mode and stance towards such outsider organizations, and as developments show, rather sooner than later these changes will happen. We have of course tried to interact with the Screaming Eagles throughout the course of our investigations. The only answer we got came from the office of Not Trustmaster Commander Donald Duck, seemingly the highest person in charge within the administration of the Screaming Eagles at the moment, as the big boss Commander Mesa Falcon is rumored to rather enjoy a good stein of rum in one of the permanent sunset hotels on the tidally locked Earth-like planet Kirene 5, instead of hunting gold in someone else's possession. The office wrote on Galax, the galactic short message service.
Screaming Eagles are well aware of the developments in our galaxy As we hold freedom of the individual as the highest good available to mankind, rest assured we will defend it against all enemies from within and outside, starting at Karunai, which will stay free and independent until the last eagle has disappeared from the skies. Concerning all other allegations, Screaming Eagles hope that those responsible have bought the onion heads encouraging such thoughts from our markets, and can only issue a hearty go fuck yourselves. And never call again.
Another hard proof that these pirates are mad and dangerous, especially when let loose. As journalists, it is our duty not only to reveal facts, second-guess, and remix them matching our narrative, if necessary, but also to issue a warning to all those encountering the Screaming Eagles. Beware, be cautious, and be prepared for the worst, even if it can be a lot of fun.
Hooray, my first win of the day.
GG.
We hope to have enlightened our audience with these revelations about the obscure and sinister machinations of a crazy posse, ready to do whatever is necessary. To support our show, please donate 10 tons of fish, tea or onion heads to our headquarters at Garakcha Horizons in Hyades Sector HW-WD1-64. Please find all links in the description below, give us a follow or subscription.
Thanks for watching and see you next week, when we take a closer look at the so-called flight assist off skills of Commander Lesov.